I think the biggest thing was Michigan State, wasn't it? I mean, Michigan State beating Michigan and really, to me, punching their ticket into the NCAA tournament despite a very lackluster season.
Yeah, I think that they're more or less locked. I would recommend beating Maryland in the first round of the Big Ten tournament next week, but you win. In the last 13 days, they've beaten Ohio State, beaten Illinois, and they've beaten Michigan. And I don't know if there's 3 teams that have wins that are that good on their resume. And I know they're 14-12, but to me, they're in the tournament. And I'll tell you this much. Let's say that they end up getting like a 10 or an 11 or a 12 seed, somewhere around there. Imagine being let's say that you're Virginia, right? And you're a 5 seed. And your first round draw as a 5 seed after winning the ACC is a Michigan State team where Aaron Henry is playing like this and Rocket Watts is playing like this. Like, how much do they hate life if that's what happens?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, not the matchup. And oh, by the way, you've got a coach named Tom Izzo on the other sideline. No, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants.
The man has an entire month named after him.
I guess, yeah. Well, by some, I don't know if I'd name a month after Tom Izzo, but it's not.
By the way, we're not giving John Rothstein credit for coming up with January, February, Izzo, April. He doesn't get credit for that one.
No.
He's come up with he's had some good nicknames.
Or this is March. I think this is March kind of came long before Shtick Boy.
Adam, how do you feel about Michigan State?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I think certainly punched their ticket, but the critical thing is, with the way Maryland is playing, obviously the last week, as you kind of tweeted out, Rob, last night, like they're going to need that game too. So it depends to me, like how they're going to look in that game itself. But again, those wins, are better than a lot of the other bubble teams' wins. I think along the lines that you guys have too, that I'd love to see them in one of those first 4 games. If it comes to it, you'll put them up against a team like a Drake or one of those mid-majors that deserves a bid, and just roll the balls out there and let's see how they do. I thought it was a tricky spot also yesterday for Michigan, coming off the win on Thursday, going on the road towards the end of the season. The back-to-backs have always been tricky this year. So, I wasn't surprised by the outcome, but I certainly know with Izzo on the sideline that that's the type of matchup he's going to win. And again, he motivated that team, and they should be in now. I think they obviously have the resume that's a lot better than a lot of those other bubble teams that are out there. So wouldn't shock me if they're in. Would love to see them in that first 4. And, again, if you're right, if they're a Virginia matchup in the first round or someone like that, Virginia's not going to be happy, but I would certainly take Michigan State in that matchup just based on, obviously the backgrounds and how they're coming in red hot. And I'll see Virginia struggled throughout the year, as we've seen outside, of the lower wins in that league this year for Virginia. So to me, Michigan State's peaking at the right time, and no surprise there with Izzo on the bench.
How worried are you about Michigan, Jeff?
Not very. I mean, again, like Adam was saying, it's a tricky spot because what are they playing for? Everybody's telling them they already have a number 1 seed locked up, which they did. I know it's your rival. I know you want to beat the hell out of them again. You just did it. But again, you're not playing for quite as much. To me, I want to see what they do in the Big Ten tournament. They've proven it over the course of the year that I still don't put them if everybody's playing at their A+ game, to me, it's Gonzaga, Baylor at one level, and Michigan's still a step below them. But they certainly have a chance to get to the Final Four and win this whole thing, especially, considering all all the factors that are going to be involved when these teams and these kids get to Indianapolis. I mean, people aren't going to take that into account, that these kids aren't going to be able to leave their hotel rooms for most of the time. It's not going to be a traditional Final Four, or NCAA tournament. So I think, the mental part of it is going to play more into it than ever, and how these guys stay locked in. And I still like Michigan a lot.
Yeah, I'm there too. The thing you mentioned about the players being stuck in Indianapolis, I don't think people realize that Michigan, when they go there, they're basically going to be there for a month, and they're going to be living in the hotel room for a month.
They hope.
Yeah, assuming that they make a run, but they're basically going to be living in a hotel room for a month. You're not going out. You're not able to go have dinner.
You're going to look at the fans outside your hotel room. You're going to be looking at me walking by, going to get my hopefully Dunkin' Donuts, but I don't think there's Dunkin' downtown in India. I think I'm going to have to deal with Starbucks. But all those fans They're going to be outside their window, and they can't party with them. They can't even, it's so hard this year. Like for teams like a Michigan, right? And we've seen their fan base and how hungry they've been, like Illinois. Like those kids haven't gotten the adulation that they probably should walking across campus, right? Everybody telling Io what a great win it was, or how are you? How you feeling? You're not getting any of that shit this year. And they're not going to get it in Indianapolis. They're going to watch it from afar. If that, they're going to watch it from their TV rooms and from their TV screens in their hotel rooms.
So here's my question about Michigan, which I think I'm most worried about. It's the status of Eli Brooks and Franz Wagner. Eli Brooks sprained his ankle and played just 5 minutes yesterday. And then on the last possession, I don't know if you guys saw this, but like Franz did something and came up a little bit gimpy. I think he rolled his ankle, but on that last possession when they were down 6 at Michigan State, you could see him hopping around in the final second. So their status obviously is going to be important. I think Franz Wagner is the most important player on that roster. So we'll see. I'm definitely worried about Michigan considering those injuries. Beyond that, it's their point guard and the big guy. We don't have to keep going over the same things over and over and over and making the same points over and over again. What else happened yesterday? Macy OT went full Steph Curry, hit 10 threes.
Yeah.
Baylor's back, right?
12. 10 to 12 from 3.
Yep.
Right.
Adam, Baylor's back, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we were kind of waiting for this to happen. They had that nice win on the road earlier in the week, which kind of shut a lot of us up who went against them. Obviously, the spread obviously was a little ridiculous that they covered that game in overtime. But yeah, here nor there.
That was a bad beat. That was a bad beat. For anyone else that was on West Virginia, that was a bad beat.
Terrible. But yeah, I mean, look, as we've said all year, it's Gonzaga and Baylor, and then the rest of the field, and obviously Michigan with the injuries, and obviously Illinois and them coming back. Look, there are other teams there, but look, if Baylor doesn't get to a Final Four, this will be a major disappointment. If they don't get to the title game, it'll be a disappointment. The way that they've played over the last 2 years, but having Teague, kind of light it up from 3 yesterday, and just the way that they dominated that game from start to finish, that shows how they are. It wouldn't shock me if some team clips them in the Big 12 tournament, just because their focus is obviously for next week. But I wouldn't be shocked if they're run the table from here on out, and they kind of galvanize themselves, and obviously just hit the pedal here and say, look, we have all that stuff now behind us, all the COVID stuff's behind us. Let's go win this thing. So it wouldn't shock me if they did it now.
I think my hottest take is that at least one of Baylor, Michigan, and Gonzaga are going to end up losing in their conference tournament at some point this week.
Yeah.
Now the easy one is Michigan if these guys are all banged up.
Well, here's the thing with Michigan though, Rob. To me, if these guys are banged up, your focus has to be on next Friday, not this week. So to me, if they're even remotely banged up, if they've locked up that number 1 seed or even the best 2 seed, what's the benefit of getting them out there outside of just running them around for a few minutes? So to me, there are too many other teams in that league. Ohio State, if they want to get motivated to get hot right now, which would be nice. Iowa, which we could talk about, I'm sure we will in a second. And obviously, the other teams there, it wouldn't shock me if they rest their guys and get them ready for next weekend, because that's what obviously is important right now. So it wouldn't shock me if Michigan lost this coming week.